Okay, this go around, we're gonna go ahead and tackle this hydro booster. I've already cleaned it up a little bit with a little brake clean, and now we're gonna take it apart. I've got this kit. It's like a universal kit, so I don't know that we need all these little parts. I know that what really leaks in here is one of the main seals on the spring, but other than that, we're gonna see what matches up. I think it's just one of these main seals here. And then also there's a figure 8 ring that tends to leak pretty bad. That's where the housing comes together. So those two things, this will probably be a really quick episode, pulling these things apart. And then I've got a new reservoir to go on it. So we'll have a brand new rebuilt hydro booster. Okay, let's get this master cylinder off, and it takes a 14 millimeter. Oop, I need a 12 there. Now I got what I need. It's a 13. Try something different there. Okay, I think I've got every 13 and 14 I own over here. So it's hard to reach into there, so you're gonna have to use a wrench. These are an E12. Okay, let me get this mess cleaned up. Everything apart, and really the only thing I'm going to use out of this kit is going to be this O-ring and this figure 8 seal. You can clearly see where the ring, this O-ring goes down in there, where the old one is completely worn out and has been leaking beyond out to the master cylinder. So that's my area. So we're going to problem area. We're going to get this one out and see what it looks like. Yeah, so obviously that one's too big. Old versus new. I pulled it out with the edge. There's a groove in there facing up, so we'll put the new one in back the same way. There we go. Okay, for this side we've got the figure 8 O-ring. Okay, about the only other piece I see in this kit that'll work, there's this little like baffle right here. And the original doesn't quite look like the replacement. And this little plunger that goes down in there is bigger. So I'm gonna stick with what I got because that makes me a little nervous. It does something with the pressure here. So we're gonna put this back together now because there's really not anything else in here that we can use on this kit. Everything else looks really good and really good working order. Now, this is a little bit aggravating because these two knobs have to go in here while this has to go through there. See, this pops out. This is the aggravating part. A little cleanup. Okay, I'm gonna torque these to 21. Okay, let's put the master cylinder on. Okay, we're gonna check the new versus the old, make sure we got the right part, and it looks like it matches it really well. One thing we got to do when we put this on the hydro boosters, we got to bench bleed it. So let's get it mounted, and then we'll move over to the vise for bench bleeding. Came with a new bolt, so I'm gonna switch them out. Let's bench bleed this thing. Okay, the new master cylinder comes with these bleeding plugs, so we'll take the regular ones out so we can bleed this thing. Finger tight. Okay, so bench bleeding is essentially you're just putting brake fluid in here and making sure all the air is out of the master cylinder. Now you really can't know what it works, if it's working properly, until we get it all hooked back up to the power steering, and that's where these connections happen. And then crank up the engine and things are running, and you can push the brake and bleed the brakes and make sure your power steering is working, which you have to bleed that as well. So since we're rebuilding everything, I'm not too concerned about bleeding the master cylinder because we're gonna be we got all new brake lines. There's a whole process to bleeding it, but a little bit of fluid in there, and we're just gonna give it a couple strokes. don't see any air bubbles in there, so I think we're good to go. That's the master cylinder install and hydro boost rebuild. Got all this ready to install on the car, nicely cleaned and ready to go and rebuilt. And then we got some work to do over here. This wiring harness is gonna need some touching up, some new loom. We'll get it fixed though. That's the sad anguish when you lose in Geometry Dash.
What?